Think it's time we rise up, people. It's time's up, people. You can talk all you want, but it won't change a thing. I wanna know what you do. So, Nate, thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, Jody. It's hilarious. Thank you for having me.
So, everyone, this is actually my cousin by marriage. He's married to my favorite cousin. I always said that, but don't tell anybody else. Anyway, and Nate shared a story with me a few years back at a wedding, actually, and I'd really like to share it with you guys so that we can really understand what the human cost is of war. So Nate, tell us a little bit about well, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't want to start cold.
Okay, well, my name is Nathan Gould. Currently, I am a stay-at-home dad. I have started writing books. The current book have just written is called Service to Civilian: A Journey Through PTSD. And before that, I was writing children's books. And I've always been a writer, but I got serious. So, well, I wouldn't say serious. This book is serious, but the children's books are more to help parents and stuff like that. Before that, I joined the military just out of college and just after getting married. The bills of college bills and whatever else get real, and I'm sure they're even more real now.
Mhm.
But mine alone was like $50,000. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? That was overwhelming to me. So one way that uh, what happened was we ended up having to move back into my mother-in-law's house.
Mhm.
And so I'm lying in bed uh, with my newlywed in the room that she grew up in,
Mhm.
thinking, what the hell went wrong? And one of my friends from growing up had joined the military, joined the National Guard, and he said, "Hey, why don't you join the military?" And I thought about it. And next thing I know, I'm in the recruiter's office, thinking this probably is a good deal,
Mhm.
because I signed the post 9/11 GI Bill, where if you've already gone to college, they pay your loans.
Right.
So I signed a 3-year contract to join the Army. And in 3 years, my college loans of $50,000 would be paid off.
Mhm.
So I was like, plus this, and plus I got a bonus for joining what was it, combat engineer with infantry with explosives. So I took the sign-in bonus, and without, I never had plans to join the military. Um, Never was a dream of mine. It just, came because, I felt like I was, as in many other times in my life, like I'm stuck in this situation. I don't want to
Mhm.
have this. I knew my parents. Um, uh, they paid their college loans for like 25 years. I didn't want to do that, paying this stuff, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And so that was something I didn't want. So here we go, newlyweds, join the military, off to basic training, and great craziness. 27 years old, I think I was. And like now I'm getting treated like, I don't know, people screaming in my face and, uh, you know, what the hell? They're trying to, and this whole idea of breaking you down to build you up.
Hmm.
And, um, and I'm like, this whole time I'm thinking, it's like, I already know this stuff. I've already been through this stuff. I don't need this. But I realize this guy over here needs it. No. you and the whole, this is something I really do want to talk
Hmm.
about military culture. Um, it's it's just, and I have this on my notes. It's this whole indoctrinization, and it
Right.
starts right from the beginning. This never give up, never quit, never admit defeat, ignore pain, and finish the mission until you're the last man. And it's a psychology that they ingrained in you. And they I write this in my book and stuff like this, more in depth and better than what I'm saying right now. But um, something that I will say is, this the drill sergeants will say this, something like this: you can go to sick call if you want, privates,
What's it?
but if you get hospitalized, you're going to be recycled. And recycled means you go back to the beginning. So
Huh.
you start with a new company, a new group of people you don't even know anymore. You could have been what's basic training, I think, is like 6 months, maybe
Mm-hmm.
3 to 6 months, somewhere in there, depending on if you have advanced individual training, and everybody does. But if you have it at the same place, you're going to be there for a long time. But so if you get hospitalized, which means you start to miss training, so everything's important, and you miss training for some reason, you're going to be sent back with a new group of people, and you start from day zero.
Hmm.
So more screaming,
Right.
being treated like nothing, and you know, so nobody wants to do that.
Right.
I mean, would you? Nobody does. You don't want to go back to the beginning. You want to get this over with.
Right. Right.
So hell no, I'm not gonna say, there's something wrong with me. If I'm sick, I'm gonna just suck it up. Suck it up. They say that. They said
Huh.
drink water, drive on, take a knee, face out, pull security, all these stupid little catchphrases.
Right.
But you learn them. And so there's this mind thing that's going on the whole time. Like if you and they call it a no-go, it's a go or a no-go. There's no 50%, 60% ABC, nothing like that. It's either you do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Two sides, that's it. So you're going to complete the task, whatever task we have, to the letter of how we want you to do it. Or if you didn't, and like one of the big ones is rifle training, when you got to get a certain, this one is scored, you got to get a certain score that's like 80% of the score. So then that would be like a go for
Mm-hmm.
you. But if you get less than that's a no go, and you get a retry or once or twice. But there's a certain point they cut it off and say, hey, you got to start over.
Right. Right.
So you're all sweating bullets when days like that come up that are strictly, I have to pass this or else, you know? And so you worry about that. There's a thing that they call Exodus. It's during Thanksgiving and Christmas break, and they give an Exodus to all of their command staff and drill sergeants and whatnot. They get to take a break. So because they get to take a break, we get to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody goes home for 2 weeks during that time.
Hmm.
Toughest 2 weeks because you're like dreading going back.
Right. Right.
So before that happens, and our training is kind of winding down anyway, but before that happened, it was winter time. It was in between fall and winter, so there's precipitation. It's cold, but it might not be snow. So big chances of getting sick. Anyway, I did get sick. I knew I was sick, but I didn't want to go sick call because I didn't want to start over. My training is almost done.
Right.
Hell no. So I just didn't go. And they won't make you go. Even if they know you're sick, they won't make you go.
Huh.
They just let it be. It's your choice. So so I knew I was sick. I knew there was a couple other guys that were sick, and what I remember, it was just, the perfect storm. We I was already sick, and reason why I was probably sick is because we would train in cold weather and in the rain at the same time. There was never a day you didn't train just because it's raining outside. You'd get dirty like crazy, and you'd be sitting there not even drying in it. You wouldn't get out of that uniform all day. You'd just be stuck in it. And whatever got on you. So that's part of training.
Right. Right.
We had to train in terrible situations because you know what? It's true. And there is Ryan and I were talking about this. There is a time and a place for this type of training
Mm.
because what the hell? When you go overseas or wherever you go get deployed, you're not in control of any of that.
Right.
You got to be ready for whatever is sent your way. So there is a mindset, and I believe it's right in some ways that you got to train for every possible
Hmm.
so every possible situation, and you got to have people that can bear that.
Hmm.
So you have to build that a little bit, well, a lot of it, and you got to find out who breaks. You also got to find out who breaks because we get rid of them,
Hmm.
you know. And I know this is crazy stuff, but this is how it's done.
Hmm.
And well, I know I got off a little off there, but um, so we were training in the cold weather and the rain, and I knew I was sick. I didn't know what I had, but I also slept on the top bunk in my room with an open window and the heat blaring at the same time. So that didn't help.
Yeah.
And so we all went on Exodus, and I got home for my 2 weeks, and I went and they knew I was sick too. We went directly to the hospital. I had double pneumonia.
Oh my
Yeah. And I spent, days in the hospital during my break just to get better to go back, you
God.
know?
Jeez.
And so, it that's the real, I mean, that's one real thing. And going back, everything else was better after I got better. But if we didn't have Exodus, what would have happened? Who knows?
Right.
I had double pneumonia. I didn't know that.
I didn't even know there was such thing as double pneumonia. Like if
Yeah,
you have
it's in
pneumonia,
both
how do you have,
lungs.
does that
Well,
mean
they
both
call it that. It's
lungs?
it's
Is
in both
that
lungs.
what?
That's what it means. So, I mean,
Okay.
you got pneumonia in this one and in this one.
Oh my God.
So,
And you're going back to like you're in barracks, right? So
right.
like there are a lot of people. So no matter you're gonna pass it around to everybody and you know what I mean? Like everybody, if one person is sick, they're
Let's
gonna
do
pass
this.
it along to everybody else.
Hey, enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole part of the training is this kind of like as you said indoctrination to okay, when this happens I keep going, I do that, I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what the ones were, but I mean those
Yeah.
those little sayings, those are the things that you kind of when you come into this situation, when you say, oh, I feel sick, there's a thought for that that's automatic, like nope, I just keep going, or you
Yeah.
know
Finish the mission. You never give up, never quit, never admit defeat, ignore pain, finish the mission until the last man.
there you go. Yeah.
And there are certain things, the warrior ethos, it's right in there.
Hmm.
You could probably look up warrior ethos. I couldn't, we had to memorize certain things, and that was one of them.
Hmm.
I don't know it now, but um,
Probably better off as a civilian not knowing it.
so, and I'm sure it was in there, never leave a fallen comrade.
Right.
That was another one. I totally agree with that one.
Hmm.
Never leave a man behind. Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but I wrote down here that the basis for building soldiers, and they used to even say this in basic training. Basically, the definition of a soldier is a soul dyer. You're dying to yourself.
Huh.
It's not about me. This whole thing. Um,
Wow. A soul dyer.
yeah,
That's,
you ever heard that?
yeah, no, I've never heard that. Wow, that's really interesting.
you
So,
you are. It's not about you anymore. It's about the mission. It's about
right.
all these other people behind me.
Hmm.
America, let's say.
Yeah.
you know and I totally agree with that. I totally agree, not with the soul dire part, but the part of denying myself so that I can protect these people.
Hmm.
That's what soldiering is about,
Yeah. I
is
mean, if
putting
the mission is,
my needs down here to put the needs of the country up here.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. I mean, and I think, probably the place where we diverge, and we don't have to get into it, is why the war. You know what I mean? Is like, okay, what are you
yeah,
fighting for?
I totally talk about that.
But I'd love to talk about kind of, your experience like once you got there. I do remember as you were going through, I mean, I donated to your I don't know, what was it, GoFundMe for the book, right?
GoFundMe,
Yep.
Kickstarter, one of the two.
And I do remember some of the excerpts that I read, and I remember just kind of like these, one of them in particular sticks out in my mind, and it was when you were like leaving to go off on this mission, like you're getting on the plane, like you're going
Yeah, yeah.
overseas, and that kind of thing. Can you tell us a little bit about like I just kind of that feeling of, so you've gone through this, 6 months of basic training, which, as you described, it's just, instilling these, um, um, y- uh,
A new set of values
right,
for
right,
both
and,
of us.
exactly, denying yourself and being this, you know what I mean? I am a soldier, and and all that kind of stuff. And just tell us a little bit about like what did that feel like when you were leaving? Did you feel like you were prepared for what was ahead, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, leading up to going overseas for the first time for me, it was I mean, we trained before, but now we're really trained. I mean,
Mhm.
we did so much stuff. It's just like, oh my goodness, can we stop? But it didn't prepare me
Hmm.
for the moment that I got on the plane when it became real. You know, um, I remember um, sitting there. I was an NCO, a non-commissioned officer, sergeant at the time, and so I got to sit into some of the meetings, on my level. And I remember the first sergeant saying that, "Hey, is is there any more training that you think, just in general to everybody,
Right.
that we've missed, or something we can do to make ourselves more ready?" And I was the only they looked at me sideways, but I was like, I said, this is what I said. I was like, I've never killed anything, you
Hmm.
know, and take it as you will, but I was meaning like even a small animal. I've never killed anything. I Can we do something like that? I mean, sounds crazy, but you know, that was the thought that came through my mind, you
Hmm.
know, and of course, I don't think it can be approved. We never did it. So, um, but you can't be ready. How can you be ready for that? You
Right.
know? And, so I'm sitting there on the plane. We're on our way. We're going to Germany first. That's the halfway point or whatever, something like that. And, this fear came across me of I may have to kill somebody. I may, some of my friends may die. I may die. Um, First time I thought of it. You do all this training, and uh, the reality eventually has to hit you. That this is what we were training for this whole time. You
Yeah.
know, and we had been to Fort Knox before that. Not that Fort Knox is any special special place, but it was a separate training for us where all we did day and night was just shoot, 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 all the time. Sick of shooting. Um, but I still wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know, we did it for like a month, and I still wasn't ready for that. And I got gripped with this fear that, I may die, may not come back. Some of my friends may not, all these thoughts.
Yeah.
And, you know, I I can't believe that nobody else didn't feel that.
Now, I was gonna say, I think I'm sure a lot of people felt that way. It just didn't, they wouldn't share it. It's not something that you would say,
Yeah,
especially if you're in that
well,
situation, because you're supposed to be a soldier. You're supposed to, be kind of bereft of those, human emotions and things
you're
like that. They're
supposed
trying
to have
to
ignored
drill those
that.
out of you.
You're supposed to have has been drilled out of your mind. It's supposed to have been, and for some, maybe it had been, but not. It didn't get drilled out of my head, you know. And in that same very moment, I prayed in that moment. I closed my eyes in the midst of everybody else. We had our personal weapons on our lap, full plane of uh, military people,
Yeah.
and I prayed silently in my head, that God would, you know, not. I don't know if it was necessarily a prayer of save me from this, but that, just be what I need, regardless of the outcome,
Hmm.
because I don't know the outcome.
Right.
And um, that I would have peace in it. And in that moment, and most of my rest of my tour in Iraq, I did have peace about it,
Hmm.
regardless of the outcome.
So what was it like being in Iraq? I mean, so the 6 months, and then were you in Iraq for 2.5 years?
We were just over a year in Iraq.
Okay.
Um, I only went on one deployment, so I can only speak about one. But my experience, we get over there and get to Kuwait and sit in Kuwait for like a month. I'm like, what the hell? This
Hmm.
is you're sitting there, you've been doing all this training and you think you're gonna hit the ground running and you don't,
Right.
you know? And everybody is waiting for orders, more orders. Where are you actually going to be stationed when you're in Iraq? We end up getting a nighttime mission that we asked for, or our company commander did. And so we did some nighttime missions, and all it was route the main road, which was they call it Route One, north and south. It went from South Iraq to North Iraq, um, and just making sure it's clear of IEDs, roadside bombs, and there was a curfew at the time. I'm sure there's a curfew now, um, but we've already been occupying the country for close to 10 years.
Yeah.
So people knew coalition forces already. They knew the SOP, which is standard operating procedure. They wouldn't call it that, but they knew that when a coalition force, anybody that's the only uniforms left are coalition forces. But they knew when we were on the road, they weren't. So they would just pull off to the side of the road, and everybody knew it.
Hmm.
Uh, and it wasn't roads like we have here. We paved any road that we used. Otherwise, it was dirt.
Hmm.
So, and mostly flat. So even if you know in our way of thinking of roads, you have ditches and you've got woods and you got other obstacles, you wouldn't go off the road.
Hmm.
Well, in Iraq or similar countries where they have lots of desert, well, you know what? There's something on the road. I just baja. I go around it.
Right. You just, yeah.
So this really, it's kind of a funny thing to have a road in some aspects. This is where we drive, but if we had to, we'd go out and just
Right.
go across the land.
I know where the story goes from here, right? And so, I guess, are there any significant stories, maybe something from your book that you might like to tell us about now, kind of, um, talking about really, uh, an action that you took that later haunted you is what I'm hinting at.
Yeah, I figured.
If you're comfortable with that.
No, I totally am. And that is um, the reason why I really wrote this is not for fame or anything like that, but to shed light on my own way of developing a mental illness without even knowing it. And um, similar, I'm sure there's very similar stories out
Oh
there
God, yeah.
of
Yeah.
people that I wouldn't say I was necessarily ignorant, even though I wrote that about myself on my notes, but just ignoring it,
Yeah.
just because of the training that we've had is to ignore it, and to say that, you know, Ryan was saying earlier about being macho, and there's a point of being too macho, and that was like the mantra of my unit for sure, is you never admitted when you were hurt, you never took help, um, and so, and if you did, oh my goodness, you would never live it down, so there's this whole other part of it that and it gets into hazing, especially for new people.
Hmm.
And I do talk extensively about that because I had my own hazing experience, which I totally disagree with. Um, but that's in Garrison, which is U.S. side. So
Mm.
we're gonna jump to what you were just saying. I mean, that adds to it too. That adds to it too.
Right. Right.
Um,
It's all of these things that combine to kind of put you in this frame of mind. I mean, obviously, also with the training, it's physically and things like that, but also it's very mentally preparing you for, doing something, being in a situation that, is it's hard to think how that how any human being could, you know what I mean? But that's what it's about, is like getting you into this mindset.
yeah, and I would say that's even encouraged, because
Right.
everybody everybody does it. Um, and corporal punishment and all this business. um the one guy messed up, so we're all gotta suffer.
Right.
And then what's that do? That separates this one guy. We're all mad at this one guy. What? Come on. And so it's crazy. um
And
so
it's
two
also like
things.
this group mentality, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like not only are they training you individually, but it's like it's creating this, your what do you call it? Your company? Your
yeah.
platoon? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not good with the
Well, yeah,
military
there's
terms.
there's level, but
Right, but like your group
you-
that you travel with, that you train with, that you travel with, that continuously, it's building up this kind of, not only in yourself, but also this social pressure around it and this social kind of atmosphere. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's good and bad aspects.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, and I do want to talk about these two things, two personal experiences I want to share with you that, and I won't get away from that, but the good and bad. Um, for instance, going overseas and being in a similar situation, as far as we're all in this together, you know, built it's like building blood brothers, because
Right.
we're in the suck together, and we're going through all this similar stuff all at the same time, and the guy next to you sucking just as bad,
Hmm.
and um stuff that we don't agree with. We may not personally agree with it, but we're doing it because we signed up for it. um so that's one. The camaraderie, building the blood brothers, is real, and uh, so that is actually a good part, you
Hmm.
know, of the whole experience. Two of the things that I want to share about this whole developing, uh, mental illness and not knowing it, and this was early on in deployment. Um, uh, we were at a location where we were doing the road uh, the road clearance at night, and so uh, this particular night, uh, my my first platoon was we had just finished for the evening. We're on our way back to base, to go to sleep, and on our way back, and curfew hadn't lifted yet. On our way back, we see two uh, Iraqi national, Iraqi teens, uh, on a side, or standing on the side of the road with their hands up, um, and it was just so odd. We drove past them initially, and then our command decided to go back. Oh, we need to get out with them, I guess. So we decided to go back, and we turned around and we went out to check them out because curfew is still on. They're not supposed to be out.
Oh.
So we go check them out, and me and another soldier actually get out, and we're on our way to go talk to them. We can't speak the language, but we're going to see what's going on. Um, and uh, as we were walking up to them, or quickly walking up to them, everybody else had dismounted except for the drivers and the gunners. Um, and one of squad leaders says that there's AAA rounds all over the area, which is anti-aircraft artillery rounds with wires coming out of them, as if they were being set up as an IED,
Hmm.
improvised explosive device.
Right.
And and at the very moment, our vehicle that we were in had stopped. Uh, where it had stopped, there was a bunch of them underneath it. And so he's like telling everybody. And so we got back in the vehicle real quick and then got away from those and then reapproached these guys, which were right on the side of where all those were. Um, uh, so so it becomes a little bit more important to talk to them. So we have an interpreter with us, um, and so we go and we, the we frisk them. They don't have anything on them. They're just wearing their normal clothing, and they have a pickup truck with them. And we're in the midst of we search the truck. There's nothing in the truck. But here's where it gets done, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Red tape. So the SOP, standard operating procedure at the time, and probably still now, is to call, because we found improvised explosive devices, even though these ones weren't set up to blow up, they still are a um, munition that can blow up um, in one shape or form. So the standard operating procedure is to call EOD, which is explosive ordnance disposal, a
Mm-hmm.
whole different group of people for them to come out and do it, to take care of that stuff, explode it where it is
Right.
safely. So that's what they're supposed. And you see pictures of these guys. They have this whole suit on. They're walking around like a big snowman or something.
Like the bomb squad, and I mean,
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
U.S., you'd
A
see the
big
bomb squad.
bomb suit,
Right.
and
Right.
then put they put explosives near the explosives to blow the whole thing up. So that's what they do. So what's it? What 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, something like that. We call in for them to do it. We're sleeping. We'll come out when we're awake. So what do we have to do? We have to sit there with these guys and with all that stuff and wait. And this is what we have to do.
Now, I
So
just ask you real quick, why with the guys? Because was there some indication that like they had put them there, or like w- the guys
well,
were, I don't know.
well,
I think
okay.
maybe I
So
missed a part.
you have a it there's there wasn't any houses or anything around. It was just like um just desert area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's a truck there. There's two they look like teenagers, maybe 20s, there, standing there with their hands up already. Don't you think that's odd?
Okay.
Driving by them. So all these things are odd. And then right next to that is all these uh, explosives
In the middle
with
of the
wires
desert. Okay,
coming out of them.
that was the missing part that I didn't have. I didn't realize that you were just kind of like that. There was nothing else around. So that's a little
That
bit
was
more
right
context.
right
That at
where
least
they
it makes
were.
sense.
That
Okay.
was right where they were.
Okay.
So we can't. It's not like we're uh, saying they did something. It's just that all this is right there in front of you, and so now we have to hold it um, in the military. This is not how we do things over here, but over there, yes. Um, so we had to sit there and wait. And sun comes up. They are still not coming. It's probably a couple hours. We're tired as all get out. We don't want. Nobody wants to be there. Of course, we're ready to go sleep. Um, sun comes up, curfew's lifted. Um, People just doing their normal everyday stuff are trying to get to work. They're trying to get to the market, wherever they're trying to go. They start building up on both sides of our checkpoint. Of we had blocked traffic,
Hmm.
So like I was saying, they could Baja, some did, and I was like, good for you. Please do that. But others would just drive up, 2 lanes now become 10
Hmm.
because you can do that. And they're not passing us, but they're all now traffic is as far as you can see both ways. This is concerning. Now people are coming out of their cars, looks like a mob, you know, all this doesn't need to happen in my opinion,
Right.
but that's
Right.
how things are done. So anytime when you stop traffic like that, that's when things are happening because now we made that.
Right.
Um, and our company commander and whoever else is getting really upset that these people didn't come out and do their job yet. And next thing you know, and all this is happening, and people are eating, praying to the east, and have their prayer mats and doing all what people do. They're just doing them.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with you, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't start to become a little scary. Next thing you know, we hear what sounds like machine gun fire nearby, and we hear it's close, but we don't know where it's coming from. So when we call that in to command, and now the situation is important.
Hmm.
Now it's important. Well, we're gonna send a QRF, quick reaction force. You know, and who's not ready? QRF is not ready. Who's supposed to be ready at any moment?
Hmm.
They're sleeping. Our company commander, first sergeant, have had enough. Our second platoon has already been awake since the first time we got out with these people. And they said, screw you, QRF. We're going to go back up our own guys. And so our second platoon's on their way out there. Um, and they get like a mile from us. And like I already told you earlier, that, you know, coalition forces have occupied this country for almost 10 years or over 10 years at this point.
Right.
People know what to do. Okay. People know not to be on the road. People know to pull over or just to stop. One of those things. So, and so our so their convoy is on their way to come back us up. Um, and they never make it because as they pull by this neighborhood that we don't know the real name of it, but we named it, or someone named it 500 homes because there's over 500 homes in this neighborhood. So just a random no brainer name. Hey, 500 homes.
Mm.
Anyway, so they named it that, and so a car, another infamous white pickup. I always have white pickups. Anyway, and everything's a white pickup in my stories. So
Noted.
um, this white pickup, I know it's a pickup, uh, pulls into the convoy. Everyone knows not to do this. Everyone knows. They pull into the convoy as they're passing by. So the convoy is 5, 6 Humvees, and so the SOP, standard operating procedure. I say it again. Um, for for someone entering the convoy is to get rid of them any way you need to. So, but they're in between two of our vehicles, so you're not going to shoot because you might get friendly fire. So, happened to be uh, my squad's vehicle um, that had to take care of that threat, and so they ended up ramming it, ramming the pickup, and uh, what there was a from other accounts of other soldiers, there was a big flash, and then our vehicle went into an unrecoverable roll, and um, all the doors flew off, all the people were thrown, all the soldiers were thrown from the vehicle. Um,
This
uh,
is a Humvee?
this is a Humvee,
Hmm.
and uh, I go into more detail in the book, but basically, two soldiers were killed, and the rest of the soldiers that were in the car or in the Humvee never came back because of their injuries. So the whole that whole squad was what I say wiped out, and so now it's just me and another soldier in our squad left at that point. We don't know this, but this just happened. So they never make it to us. And as soon as we said on the radio that we hear small arms fire, Apaches show up. Um, the helicopter gunships. Um, and they're like, is it this car? Is it this car? Is it this? Who should I light up? And we're like, we have no idea. And so they're circling the whole time. This all have there's like three or four maybe not three or four, maybe two, but at least two. We're
Mm.
circling and they're making bigger and bigger circles to, just to find out where it's coming from. And this is another part that is really it just fills me with dread when I think of it. So the sun like is up enough so we can see stuff now. So, and we are continuing. It's like at every 30 to 45 seconds, we hear the machine gun fire. And so, sun is up enough for us to look in the direction of where we think we hear this. And I know everyone saw this. I know because I did. I was on the gun on a turret on the mount, whatever you want to call it, on top of the vehicle. It was my turn that day. So I had the bigger gun. Um, and I heard the noise again, like machine gun fire, and I look over, and there's a machine in the middle of the field, and um, it has a smokestack, like on the back of a semi truck, and it's flapping, and it's going.
Was that what sounded like the machine gun fire?
That was it,
Oh my
and so this whole thing over that, and
God. Oh
and so and we still don't know this other thing had happened to our second platoon and this our squad vehicle because the people who had radios, that would be those in command and like my platoon sergeant and the lieutenant, and then all the squad leaders, and then um, all the drivers would have heard it because they have the main radio in the front of them. They're in control of that main radio. So they all would have heard what has happened. But everybody who's dismounted was specifically told, or not, they weren't told, but everybody else who knew was told not to tell everybody who was already dismounted. So a bunch, like at least half of us, didn't know what had happened
right.
because the thinking, and this is correct thinking, is that you want to keep their heads in the game. You
Hmm.
know, so you don't want to be sidetracked by what has happened.
Yeah, I think if it would be one thing if it were something that it was a threat, and then you would want everyone to know. But since it was
Yeah,
right, it's not
you
something
don't
that
want to be
needs to be known
distracted by you. We have
at
what
this
we have
moment.
that's around us right now,
Yeah, I can see
easily
that.
easily a couple thousand people. um and so anyway, we get relieved by another unit, and we go to the site of where the accident happened. And some of us didn't know that's what we're doing. When we got there, well, the whole time I'm thinking is, why didn't our guys ever show up? So
You
we're
were one of
thinking,
the guys you still didn't know.
I didn't
Okay.
know. Why didn't they ever show up? So we ended up showing up where their accident was, not knowing what the hell was going on. Some of us,
Yeah.
and like I see medevac helicopters, I see white sheets being pulled over people. Um, our other platoon was told probably not to say anything either. They're looking the other way. I can't contact with anybody. Like we're all like, what the heck is going on? I see uh, a Humvee that's mangled beyond belief. Like what the heck, And uh, specifically remember as the wrecker truck was pulling that Humvee and the pickup truck away. Um, one of my uh, one of the other soldiers looked me in the eye, and because he saw uh, there's a call sign on all the bumpers that goes to your specific squad, and he saw the call sign was 1-2, it's first platoon, second squad, and he looks at me and goes like this, and and without saying a word because he was across the way. And it took me a few seconds, and I was like, 1-2, first platoon, second squad. That's my squad. Where the heck is everybody? I just see medevac and pulling off by the time we get there, and
Right.
white sheets and all this other business. And we still have a stupid job to do. We wait there, second platoon pulls off. Next thing we know, this is a weird part. Another unit, all Iraqi guys, that our special, I'm guessing, our special forces taught them. They look like special forces guy. I don't know if you know what special forces look like, but they they can do whatever they want with their hair, and they can wear what they want almost. They're in uniform, sort of. You know,
Interesting. I
and
didn't
they
know
kind
that,
of
but
can do what
that's
they want.
interesting. Yeah.
They're the jocks. Let's just
Mm.
say they're the jocks of the military. And uh, so
In Weymouth, we call them Yadudes. They're the Yadudes.
the Yadudes
Or the White Hats. We call
of
them White
Iraq,
Hats.
the Yadudes of
The
Iraq,
Yadudes of Iraq. There you go.
and
Yadude.
they're all wearing their cool sunglasses. And one guy had a gold-plated. I'm not kidding. Gold-plated AK-47. I'm like, what's this guy? Weird, but I was glad they showed up. They immediately took control. They started talking to their own people. As it was like situation diffused, because their situation was the same as ours back there, where they had people they're trying to do their daily lives, showing they're just trying to get by. That's all they're trying to do.
Right.
They're not trying to make a problem or anything like that. They're just trying to do their daily lives, and they're stuck because we're blocking traffic.
Right.
So that you have the same thing we had, maybe a mile or more of backed up traffic on both sides, and getting worse all the time that we hold it. You've seen a car wreck here in New Hampshire or wherever. One wreck can ruin traffic.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
mm,
yeah, pileups. If it, yeah, I
you know,
just what I'm thinking in my mind is like just trying to make sense of the how that would happen. And what I'm thinking of is like how I don't know, like how fast can you go on these roads and in a Humvee? Like how can you really be going? Like it seems like you would have to be going pretty fast to get into a wreck like that. I
well,
don't know if that's a weird question to ask. It's just in
no,
my
no, no,
mind.
no, no.
I don't think of them as
Okay,
traveling
so
very fast.
let's just think of it this way. Um, you have whatever car you have. Just
Hmm.
just put it in the view that everybody can see. Now, you want to make this car bulletproof. Okay, so you add a thickness. They call it plating. Okay,
Right.
it's I don't know, half an inch of plating. Um, so that adds weight everywhere. And then they've decided that's not enough. They add another one. Um, and then you have all of the gear that your uh, Humvee wasn't built to have a turret on top,
Right.
but they cut a hole in it. They put a turret on top so you could have a gun on top. Um,
It just seems amazing to me with the amount of money that we spend on the military that like you'd like I mean to me it's not I'm trying to think of a good I'm trying to correct my speech because I want to say like I want to say certain phrases that I'm learning every day are like actually super crappy phrases, but it seems to be like kind of like meshed together, like just kind of thrown together. What's an expression for that?
oh yeah,
It just seems
Jimmy
amazing to me
rigged
that
or
all this equipment and all this money that's being spent on it, and there would be like, oh yeah, no, we're just going to use this vehicle, cut a hole in it, and put a turret on top of it. Like I don't.
I mean, it looks fine. I mean, you've seen I'm
Uh,
sure they've improved them and everything like that. And
mm,
they always are making improvements, more uh, shielding and stuff like
mhm,
that. Um, so all this adds weight, and plus you have your own gear that you're carrying on your person
right.
that they call it combat load, and you got to have 7 magazines. I don't know if it's more now, but that's all weight. That's just in an M4. That's your standard rifle, which used to be M16. The only difference between M16 and M4 is one shorter,
Hmm.
a little less weight.
Mhm.
So the M4 is the improved M16. It's shorter, it's less weight, but it's the same gun, really. Um, and now, but you have more than that type of gun. I carried also a shotgun. I had the 203 grenade launcher, which is an attachment to the M4. That's just me.
Mm.
Now we have these other people. You're gonna have in each squad. You'll have what they call a SAW. It's a squad assault weapon. It's the smallest machine gun, but with its combat load, you're that's heavy.
Right.
And we have 3 different types of machine guns. That one, you have the 240 Bravo, which nobody's actually carrying. That'll be mounted, and the 50 cal. You've probably heard of the 50 cal. That one's super heavy, and no one's going to be carrying that. That's also going to be mounted. Um, and you will have uh, a what the M8, which is a sniper rifle. Somebody in the squad's going to have that. Your best marksman will have that one. It's an old-fashioned sniper rifle, but it's still a sniper rifle. Anyway, you have all this gear. You have all this gear. You have, not to mention all the stuff you're carrying on your body. You also have an ammo can with extra rounds
Hmm.
in the vehicle. Because we are our unit, our company was combat engineer. We also had explosives we carried with us, but we couldn't blow anything up. That was our red tape. We had the ability to do it, but no, 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 don't you do that. You know,
So like just in case. It's just for
well,
in case of emergency.
yeah, just throw something. No, no, that's not how it's done. Yeah, well, we did use it sometimes, but never for never for blowing up explosive or IEDs, which was we all thought was ridiculous. We have the ability to do it, but you had to call uh, EOD. Anyway, you have all this extra weight that the any vehicle is not made for, all
Hmm.
this extra weight.
Right.
And so when the accident happens, it was ruled an accident. Um, when it happens, that's what threw off the balance. And so it was actually probably easier than you would think to have this thing that you don't think could roll did, you know. Um, because you just look at the thing and like it's a wide vehicle, it could swallow up 2 cars.
Right. Right. So let's talk a little bit about tell me about what happened afterwards.
I ended up getting a program. I wish I knew the name of it, but uh, it was a one-on-one, um, specifically for PTSD
Hmm.
program, and I would recommend it to anybody, because it was so intense, but so good at the same time. It sounds crazy, but what we did every single session, we went to the worst trauma, which was my friends dying,
Hmm.
you know, and I relived it every single time. I had to close my eyes and literally attempt to relive it. Every smell, every sound, every taste, every touch, um, and record it myself, and they recorded it. And then every single day as my assignment, I would have to listen to it.
Really?
So, man, it was intense for sure, crying all the time, um, and having to listen to it all the time. But I don't want to say I got used to it, but it got it got out, you know. And that's like the biggest thing, is to talk about the trauma, is to express it, be heard,
Hmm.
um, have somebody care about it. Um, and it did wonders for me. Um, and there were some other steps that they didn't ask you to take. There's steps that I made for myself. Like, one of these boys that died was like a son to me, and I avoided talking to his dad when we came back, and I wish I had, but I avoided it. That I don't know what I was afraid of. Um, I've still never met him, but I did write a letter to them. I did send it to them. I sent it to all the addresses I could find, and that was important to me to do. It's important to me to talk about them in my book, um, and how his life mattered and matters, and you know, um, to keep him alive, in a way. And that was, I was so afraid to talk to them, um, and because I feel like I failed, feel like I failed your son. I was his first line supervisor. I was his guy in the in his corner, and they shortly before he died, we didn't ride in the same truck, even though we were in the same squad. We were separated, and he was starting to feel like he didn't know if he could do what might come along. Kind of like the same thing I felt on the plane ride. He was like not having confidence, and he would always come to me for that. And so I was like, okay, all right, Gonky, let's go. And me and him, just me and him, and we were staying in like a warehouse. We went to the warehouse that was empty next to us. It was just me and him in there. And I took him to the center of it. It was big, open, nothing in it. I took him to the center of that warehouse, and we did some other things, but we just had a time together. And part of what we did is, he was like, I don't know if I could um, do an enforcement, basically, like take somebody into custody if I need to, or all these fears, all these things. And so my job is to instill confidence in you, and not just that, but make it personal. I know you can do it. you know build them up. And I said, okay, you're not going to get in trouble, only but you will if you allow me to do this. So I said, if you let me leave I'm going to walk out of here. I'm going to walk out of here. If I leave this building, you are in trouble. So I don't care what you do, you're not going to get in trouble. You do what you got to do, take me down. um, don't let me leave this. I'm going to start walking. You better not let me leave. I started walking. He didn't let me leave. He took me down. He took me out. I wasn't going to fight him back, but I let him do whatever he needed to do, take me down. And that built in the confidence that he needed, you know, and and built a stronger bond between us. The day that I found out that he had he was a vegetable. They because when the accident happened, he was the gunner that day, and on impact, his head butted up against the butt of the gun. He had like an imprint. I didn't never saw it, but like, so he had brain damage. He's at the Walter Reed, which is I think in Germany, the hospital there. Um, I'm pretty sure his parents came there, and they decided to pull the plug the next day, and it was too soon for me. And I almost couldn't contain myself, you know, and, you know, so it's just, but you have to, in that situation, you just had to go to the next mission the next day. You had no time to do anything. You had no time to feel it, you know? Um, so all that freaking just build up with no outlet, you know? And now here I am,
Hmm.
you know, on the verge of committing suicide, doing something to myself, you know, and no one knows, So here I am doing what I need to do to get help, and it was great help. It is great help. I would recommend it to anybody to do the intense psychotherapy.
Hmm.
Um, and it has a certain name, but that's what it is. And you basically live it. You relive it and relive it and relive it. It's tough. It's hard work, and um, but I still would recommend it to anybody. Reliving all those emotions and because you need it. You need to feel it. You need to. You didn't. I didn't have a chance to feel it. We just went from snap, 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 do the next thing, mission to mission to mission to mission. Um, and so you know, and my reason for writing this book is for guys just like me. Tell them there's hope, there's healing. Um, there's there's something after this.
Hold on. Let me not be. All right.
Take all that off the video.
See, it's just nature's way of telling me that I shouldn't have put on makeup today. That's all it is. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, no, I think I don't know. At this point I'm not even gonna sum it up. How about we just say, where do people find your book?
Well, you can find it on Amazon, or you can find it through my own website at njgould, njgould.com. And there's an Amazon link, a Barnes and Noble, Indie, I think another one, whichever one you choose.
Yeah,
You
we can.
there's the soft cover, hardcover, and the ebook. But I also, I haven't been doing it for months, but I will eventually come out with a audiobook.
Awesome. I know. That's what everybody does nowadays.
You have all options.
See, maybe if you do an audiobook, I'll actually get through the book.
Oh
See,
yeah,
that'll be
yeah.
then
I
I'll have
advertised
literally
that.
zero excuse why I
Yeah, I advertised that it will have all the emotions, but I've uh, I've talked about it so often, recently that it, at times it will get me too.
hmm,
At times it will get me too.
I think
Not as much as it used to. So it's a healing process for sure.
yep.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. Keep it on the up and up.
Yeah.
Plug.
All right, bye y'all.